everything you said about the military-industrial complex is true, right? And we've been worrying about that on both sides of the aisle for a very long time. I mean, that's just that phrase came from Eisenhower. Um, it's I mean, so much of what ails us is a story of bad incentives, right? And bad incentives are so powerful that they corrupt even good people, right? How much more do they corrupt bad people, right? Like, so it's like you want, at minimum, you want reasonably good people, at least non-pathological people in the system trying to navigate against the grain of bad incentives. And better still, all of us can get together and try to diagnose those incentives and change them, right? And we will really succeed when we have a system of incentives where the good incentives are so strong that even bad people are effortlessly behaving as though they're good people because they're so successfully incentivized to behave that way, right? That's, and so it's almost the inversion of our current situation. So yes, and you say I changed my mind about the war. I Not quite. I mean, I was never a supporter of the war in Iraq. I was always worried that it was a distraction from the war in Afghanistan. I was a supporter of the war in Afghanistan, and I will admit, in hindsight, that looks like at best a highly ambiguous and painful exercise. More likely a fool's errand, right? It's like that. It did not turn out well. It wasn't for want of trying. I don't, I have not done a deep dive on all of the failures there, and maybe all of these failures are failures in principle. I mean, maybe that's not the kind of thing that can be done well by anybody, whatever our intentions. But yeah, the move to Iraq always seemed questionable to me, and when we knew the problem, the immediate problem at that moment, Al Qaeda. Uh, uh, was in Afghanistan and then bouncing to Pakistan. Anyway, so yes, but my sense of the possibility of nation building, my sense of insofar as the neocon spirit of responsibility and idealism, that America was the kind of nation that should be functioning in this way as the world's cop, and we have to get in there and untangle some of these knots by force rather often, because if we don't do it over there, we're going to have to do it over here, kind of thing. Yeah, some of that has definitely changed for me in my thinking. I mean, there are obviously cultural reasons why it failed in Afghanistan, and if you can't change the culture, it's you're not going to force a change at gunpoint in the culture, or it certainly seems that that's not going to happen. And it took us, over 20 years to realize that.
That's one of the things you realize with the wars. There's not going to be a strong signal that things are not working. You can just keep pouring money into a thing, a military effort.
Well, also there are signs of it working too. You have all the stories of girls now going to school, right? The girls are getting battery acid thrown in their faces by religious maniacs. And then we come in there and we stop that. And now girls are getting educated, and and that's all good. And our intentions are good there. And I mean, we're on the right side of history there. Good girls should be going to school. Malala Yousafzai should have the Nobel Prize, and she shouldn't have been shot in the face by the Taliban, right? We know what the right answers are there. The question is, what do you do when there are enough, in this particular case, religious maniacs who are willing to die and let their children die in defense of crazy ideas and moral norms that belong in the 7th century? And it's a problem we couldn't solve, and we couldn't solve it even though we spent trillions of dollars to solve it.